is no other name but the name that is Jesus. He who was and still is and will be through it all. So come on, make in the space between all the things unseen and His reckoning. And I know I will never be alone. I know, come on. And I know I will never be alone. There'll be another in the fire, standing next to me. There'll be another in the waters, holding back the seas. And should I ever need reminded, how could you have been to me? I'll count the joy from every battle, 'cause I know I can see the light. And I can see the light in the darkness, as the darkness bows to Him. I can hear the roar in the heavens, as the space between the west and I can feel the ground.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Mm. That's right. That's right. Yeah, yeah, right down there. Right at the bottom of right at the bottom of the page. That's right. That's right. No, I mean, I mean, I do, but go ahead. Let's go ahead. Let's start out with some questions because I mean, I've got a couple questions myself, but I want to, let's just go ahead and jump into it with a couple questions here, and let me put my mind to work here because because I've dealt with, you know, uh, these past 2 weeks. Me and you was talking before the podcast here, and I've kind of dealt with some things and still dealing with some things over the past 2 weeks. Uh, and I think this could be good for me. Honestly, I really do. Um, so yeah, let's get our focus right. Let's do this. Go ahead. Like, oh yeah, yeah. That's when I'm getting angry. Now, it's totally different when I'm just getting upset or when I'm getting mad. Um, Mad and being angry is totally different. it's totally different.
Yo, now they can hear me. Yo, chat. I'm so sorry about all of that. We are getting chat. I'm so sorry. Okay, nobody could hear
Sorry about
me.
the feedback.
Nobody could hear me,
Go
so
ahead.
I got to completely start this all over. I am so sorry. I don't know why, but it was something in the software because Tom could hear me, but nobody else could hear me. So, all right, starting all over, guys. I'm going to condense this and everything that I just said, and simply put, that we're going to be talking about a deep topic tonight, and that's that how to manage anger without causing harm. And so I've got some questions. Tom was talking about some stuff. You guys could hear him. You couldn't hear me. So I'm going to jump back into my question and then let Tom pick up again. Okay. So my question was, how do you personally recognize when you're getting angry?
Yeah, and I was kind of touching on, I think I personally myself, um my anger is different to me than just being mad or upset. Anger is a whole nother level. Um and myself, I can tell, I can tell immediately when I'm going to get angry. Um it it's kind of like it's kind of like a fire that flows through you. You feel me, my personally, I feel like I can feel immediately. I can feel the flushness of my skin, my flesh. I can feel the flushness coming on, and um, it's like an interior boil. It really is like an interior boiling. I mean, you could
Yes.
literally feel your blood getting warm. I mean, throughout your body, and I could be upset or mad and be okay and kind of be calm about it. But when I'm angry, like it's a whole nother level. And it's not an easy emotion to control. I mean, it's hard to get a handle on
Yes,
anger.
it is.
So and once you let it set in and have its way, it's I mean, it's almost uncontrollable, at some points. And so, I personally, I can feel it within myself. Like it takes a toll on my body, when it starts to happen. Um,
Yeah,
so that's,
100%. I was going to say the same thing for me. I get hot. And I think that's where the term hothead comes from.
yeah,
I'm just guessing there. I don't really know the history behind that, but I would assume that's it because I can feel pressure in my face, like you said, a feeling of flushness and just like my blood pressure's raising, my heart beats
yeah.
increasing, my eyes feel like they're bulging a little bit. Like that's when I'm really angry. I feel
Oh
like
yeah,
it's pushing my eyeballs out almost. There's so much pressure, like you can feel your heartbeat in your eyeballs. And it just
yeah.
it all it always happens like that whenever I'm really angry. And
Hmm.
those are some of the signs that I have. I even pulled up some stuff on that to get an idea of, like medically, what do we show as symptoms of anger? And one of those is increased heart rate and blood pressure, which check. That's definitely me. Um,
Yes.
Rapid breathing. I I never really thought about that, but yeah, I do. I'm assuming it's because my heart rate increases. So
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm getting worked up, sweating, muscle tension, feeling agitated or tense, irritability, and difficulty concentrating. And that
Oh
last
yeah.
one, I think I've never thought of that before, but difficulty concentrating, I could see why, because thinking back to the times where I've been very angry, I do have a difficulty concentrating. I can't slow myself to think over here or think about this over there. It's because I'm so bound,
Yeah.
for lack of a better term, to what's making me angry that I just, my mind just wants to settle on that.
Yes. That's 100. You're 100% right about that. That's that difficulty concentrating. I mean that comes through, and that comes through pretty quick too, because once that anger sets in, it's like you're focused on whatever it is that sets you off to begin with, and anything outside of that, it's like you lost all control of how you thought about it, or what you was thinking about, and especially like for me at work, um, if I get upset or if I get angry, I'll be concentrating on one thing, and I run numbers all day. I'm running through numbers all day, and I'll be concentrating on that. But once I get angry, it's like I lost all sense of track, all of where I was even going,
Yeah.
and have to go back and restart and retrack where I was at in the first place, and then go back through all the steps of where I needed to be. And so yeah, that concentration, that man, that's a key part of being angry. That
Yeah, for
it
sure.
takes a toll on you.
For sure. And yeah, it makes me even think and go to, I think that's where we, I'm not trying to jump ahead because I don't want to go too deep into like the not dealing anger, or, not dealing with any harm or anything like that. But I think that concentration piece is what gets us in trouble, because,
Yeah.
it tries to consume our mind. And then the longer that we just meditate on that whatever it is that's, making us angry or frustrated or whatever, then that's whenever it starts consuming us, right? It moves from
Yeah.
your brain into your heart. And then now you're ready to just tear up the world,
Yeah. Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Excuse me.
It can definitely take control of you.
Yeah.
It can
Yeah.
definitely take control. It can consume you. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I guess this is going to be a rhetorical question, but because I think we've all been here, but have you ever reacted in anger and then regretted it later?
Oh, uh, probably, I would say 99% of the time I have.
Yes.
And there's 1% where I thought, you know, what I lashed out was worthy of being done. But there's that 99%, absolutely 99% every time.
Yeah.
Uh, if I let anger take control and have its way through me, and I react to that, I'm always regretful about what I did or what I said. I mean, I'm like almost immediate. Like it's like once it comes out, or happens, like it's almost immediate that it hits me like in the face. Like you shouldn't have did that. You should have thought about something else. You should have just turned away from it or something. But yeah, but yeah, absolutely, it'll hit you hard too.
Yo, 100%, dude. I agree. And I'm with you on the percentage even. I'd say 99% of everything that I've ever done, said out of anger, I've regretted. And it's like, why did I let it get the best of me? Why,
Yeah,
and it's like, I know I'm better than that. I didn't mean what I said. And, for men, it's really tough, I think, because for a lot of us, especially if it comes to another man, right? We have this like alpha
yeah,
male syndrome where it's like, I can't let
yeah,
you knock me down or make me, attack my pride or whatever, make me feel less of a man. And then we say things, we do things that not only hurts the other person, it hurts the people around us and including ourselves, right?
yeah,
I mean, I don't know
yeah,
how many times I've done something out of anger that after it was all said and done, I think I was more hurt by knowing what I did or said than the harm
right.
that I caused anybody else.
Yes, yep, absolutely.
I mean, it can be
it,
completely destructive.
it's like when your dad or your mom used to say, this hurts me more. This gonna hurt me more than it's gonna hurt you. For me. And I mean, that's true.
Yeah.
It's true. And when you get older and you have to go through all these things, and you learn this. They said that for a reason, because it's really true. When I there's things that you can say to some, and and the tongue is sharp. The
Oh,
tongue is very, very sharp. It
yeah.
has dagger. It's like a two-edged sword. It'll cut right through you. And when we let that happen, it affects us. It affects us pretty deep. You
Oh,
know.
100%. That actually leads me to something that I wanted to talk about. Maybe we're getting into it early, but maybe that's for a good reason. But that's that
Yeah.
when, like, even in the title or the subject of what we're talking about, right? Doing harm. I think when a lot of people think of harm, they immediately go to a physical harm. But words can do way more damage
Yeah.
than physical. I don't know if you ever heard this when you were young, or anyone listening ever heard this whenever they were young, but it was like, how did it go? It was like something, but words can never. Oh, sticks and stones may break my bones,
Will break your bones,
but
words
words
can
will never
harm
hurt me. Right? That is
And that's
so not true. And the sticks and
no.
stones was a physical thing, right? Like you can hit
Yeah.
somebody with a stick, throw a stone at them, whatever, that can hurt you, but words won't never hurt you. I have found in life, and I think most people have found, that words hurt way more. I'd almost rather
Oh
somebody
yeah.
just punch me in the face than to
Oh
just
yeah.
verbally abuse me and talk me down,
Yeah. Yeah. Just hit me rather than to say something that's going to cut me so deep. That it's hard to come back from, because, like I alluded to a while ago, the tongue is like a two-edged sword. I
Yes.
mean, when it slices through you, it slices through you. I mean, and there's nothing you can do to take that back.
Right.
Once it's said, it's done. It's out there. And so you have to watch. You definitely got to watch, and it's so hard, but you definitely got to watch what you say to somebody in any kind of situation, because though in that moment you might mean those things in that moment, but when it's all played out, you really don't mean those things. It's just something that you've done out of an emotion, out of feeling of an emotion that's hit you, and and then you regret it. And not only do you regret it, but you've also put that on somebody else, where now they've got this scar, over just something you said to them. They got a scar that they have to live with, and battle through every day.
Yes.
You know, so it is a man. That's a strong one. It
Yeah. I mean, I just speaking from my experience growing up, in our last episode, we each kind of went into things that we've dealt with in the past. So those that listen to that know that I grew up in an abusive childhood home, and it was not only physically abusive, but verbally abusive. And I'll tell you, I remembered, and it affected me for much longer. The verbal abuse did than the physical. All the verbal abuse I went
yeah,
through, being told you won't ever amount to anything. Nobody wants you. You're worthless. You're no good. I mean, you're literally good for nothing. The only reason you're here is because I let you be here. And just, all these things, man. It was like later, it was well into my 20s. I was still struggling with
yeah,
that. And my mom left that man when I was 10. I mean, so for years and years and years, the physical abuse, that all healed. It didn't bother me as much, but the verbal abuse, man, I'm telling you, that stuck with me for a long time.
and it will, and it will. It's hard. Like, a scar is hard to get rid of.
Oh yeah.
They might fade. They might fade, but they don't ever go away. It doesn't never go away.
No. And you could just about look at every scar. I was bit by a dog whenever I was really young, I think maybe like 5, and I've still got the scars on my arm. Because of that, I remember everything about where I was when it happened. I know those. Half the time I don't even see the scars, but as soon as I see them, I'm like, oh man, I can remember just like that.
Yeah,
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 you're right.
yeah,
And when people use words in a way attacking, or we use words out of anger, at that moment we feel like, oh, we're doing what we want, and that's just hurting them the way that they're hurting us. But we don't think about the impact that those words are going to have for a while, right? People are going to, somebody could hit me and it's like, okay, whatever, I heal, I get over it, that's fine. But man, if you were to say something really, really cutting, I would think about that and think about that. Even no amount of apologizing would ever even work, because I'd always think in my head, there'd always be some sort of doubt in my brain saying, he's just apologizing because he's just trying to make you feel better, but he really means that, or she really means that,
Yes. Yes. And I've been through quite a bit of that, and been part been a lead in quite a bit of that myself. And my ex-wife, we've had some verbal discussions, and they've been some quite cutting verbal discussions,
Yeah.
that left scars on both of us, and I, like you said a while ago, you regret a lot of things that you would do or say out of anger, and I've regretted for many years, a lot of things that I've done and said, and I've been told multiple times in many arguments that, I wish you would just punch me in the mouth rather than us have words against each other, because everything that I would say would be something that I knew would just cut right through there, and get from out here to in there, because I was aiming for the heart every time,
Yeah.
as was she. We both did the same thing. We neither one of us, it was a 50-50 situation. It was neither one of us was right in what we done. But every time we had an argument about something, or every time we discussed something, and it was in that way, it was we was going for the heart. There was no just saying something, being passive aggressive about anything. It was going straight to the heart, every word. And and it it's tough. It's
Yeah.
tough. Those scars, like I said, those scars, they never go away. They fade. They do fade, but it takes a long time. But you'll never get rid of them. You'll never get rid of them. You're always going to remember. You're always going to remember, what was said to you, or and if it was a physical type of deal, you're always going to remember how it felt, in those ways. And it's anger is a tough emotion to deal with on both sides. On both sides, whether you're lashing it out or whether you're receiving it. It's a tough thing to deal with.
Yeah, 100%. And Tam even says that women tend to hold on to hurt more than physical hurt, and I really think all of us do that.
Yeah, all of
Even
us, I think. Yeah.
men will try to tell you that they don't.
Yeah.
But that's just not true. I mean, they do. They hold on to. We hold on to verbal hurt just as much as anybody else, I think. But definitely women do.
Yeah, for a man, I think for a man, it's even, yeah, it might be even more so, because as far as physical confrontation for a man, we're it's one and done. There's nothing else said about it for the most part. It's like, okay, I either got my butt kicked in, or I kicked your butt, and it is what it is, and who cares?
Right.
But when something's said out of anger from one to the other, that's something that we also, as men, carry those things with us. We don't forget those things. We might like to portray like, that wasn't nothing, but in the back of our mind, it's stuck there, what was said to us,
Yeah.
because it cut us, because it cut us deep enough that it made an impact on us.
Right.
And we're not we are not what do I want to say? It's not above a man to be cut
Right.
in
Yeah.
that manner. It's not above us. We're no better than women in that situation.
Yeah. And you could take a man, I don't care. You could you could think you are the strongest man in the world. And you might even be the strongest man in the world in physical strength, but I guarantee you there is no person, man, woman, boy, girl, whatever, that is so strong that words won't hurt.
Yeah,
They can hurt. I mean, I think of the scripture that says that life and death is in the power of the tongue.
yes,
I mean, that's just to think that you can destroy a person with just words. I mean, and think about it.
Just words.
Look at the suicide rates. Look at all the stuff that we see. Young children, teenagers and stuff that are killing themselves, that are overdosing, that are, doing crazy things to their bodies, all because of what someone says.
Yeah.
I mean, every day we see this. We see, we don't hear about it always on the news, but if you go look at statistics, and I don't have them pulled up, but I guarantee you're going to see thousands and thousands of suicides or hear about stuff where people have killed themselves solely because somebody said something. Yeah. And it's not just kids.
Nowadays it's called bullying. It's not called,
Yeah.
It's just called bullying,
Yeah, they call it bullying, but really it's verbal abuse.
Yeah.
It's verbal abuse. I mean, you are abusing person with your words. Yeah. Verbal assault, whatever it's words, man, but words are so powerful, and a lot of people, they don't put enough thought into the words when it comes to, their anger, letting their anger get the best of them and then throwing out words or lashing out even violently. And you're destroying a person. Physically, you're just destroying them from the outside, but verbally, you are destroying them from the inside. And you are attacking them, and it can be so detrimental.
Yeah, it can. Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah. So, let me see. Let me look through some of my questions here because I want to get to the managing part, but and we're going somewhere with this. I mean, we're definitely going somewhere with this, and we're going to get to the managing part. But I want to just kind of talk about, what you and I've gone through, and then maybe, what anyone else has gone through, or, things that we see. But, okay, here we go. So here's a good question for you. Okay. And, this is one I've dealt with. How do you break what some people will call a generational curse of anger? For instance, your dad had a bad temper, or your mom had a bad temper, and your grandma, this is known to run in our family, that's not something that should be worn as a badge of honor, but how do you break that? Right. Or even the expectation that this is the way we've always been. So you should always be, so you should be this way. That's a tough one.
That's a tough one. That's I don't know. I don't know that I can answer that, to be honest with you. I really don't. I don't know. I don't know how would you break it?
Some things we do get genetically, right? I mean, anger could even be one of them. I mean, there's a lot of stuff to genetics we just don't know, right? I mean,
yeah.
I like my dad was a hothead for the longest time. I mean, my dad, so how he was. My grandpa was the same way, and I'm sure somewhere down the line, further back, there were more like that, and that's something that's always ran in our family. Now, I have had my spurts with that, but I've tried really hard to try to break it. And, I guess there's no one and done answer for that, outside of it. My answer to everything is God. God can do anything through us, so there's my answer really in all things. But for someone looking for a more scientific or you know, in depth, you know, do it all. There's no answer that just covers it all, right?
Right.
I guess my suggestion would be on that question, is to try to be better and strive to be better.
Yeah.
Because, you know, there are things that I see that my dad and my grandpa done that I don't do. And it's because I've made a choice to not be that way. And
Right.
yeah, and I think there's just a lot of things that we go through in our lives where it's like, you know, we can make a choice, and we just because let's say maybe we fall into that, right? You know, maybe you fall into whatever it is that you're trying to not be, you know, anger. I get angry. I fly off the handle. I, you know, say something, do something. That doesn't have to define me as a person, right? That's a single event. And I can't look at that and say, well, I've done this one time, so I'm just going to always be this way.
Right.
And I think that's what a lot of people get into, that, well, this is just who I am, you know, but we can always be better versions of ourselves.
Yeah, that's just and saying that, that's all that is a crutch to lean on.
100%.
Yeah, you could say that all day long, but you have the ability and the freedom of choice to change things. You don't have to stay on in that same path. And the thing is you can go back, and this just come to me, but you can go back and when in those moments when that hits you, when that anger hits you, or when that frustration hits you in a situation that you're dealing with, you can go back, go back and look at what you went through as a child, or teenager or younger adult, however, whenever it started or whatever happened. Go back and look at what you went through and how you was treated and what you didn't like about those things, and then make the decision to be the better person in that situation, and change it then. Change it right now. I don't have to be that harsh about things. I don't have to take things to this level. I can, okay, let's do this different. Let's go a different route with it. Let's break that path right now, and let's step out and go around and step on a different path and walk around this, and let's do things a little different. Let's don't pass that down to another generation, because then it's just a trickle effect. It goes from one to the next to the next to the next, and it never stops. And somebody in along the line, somewhere along that line, somebody has to stop that. Somebody has to be the one to step up and say, I'm not going to live that way no more. We're not, my family from here on out is not going to do this anymore.
Right.
We're going to break that chain, and we're going to step up, and we're going to do things different, you know? So you just, and I'm not saying it like it's going to be easy, because like I said a while ago, I don't know how to answer that question. But you know, this just come to me, and it's like, you know, what if you when you got in that situation, instead of just flying off the handle, if you just pause for a second and think back to how you was treated, or things that was said to you and what you didn't like, and just use that at that moment and change it, you know, change it from there. You know,
100%.
that could be.
Yeah. And that really, you know, that kind of leads us into the managing part, right? Is thinking about the way that whatever you are getting ready to dish out or feel like you want to dish out would affect you, will really help to deter, you know, and we started out talking about how do you know you know, recognize anger and this and that. And I started with those questions for a reason, because if I would like to hear if there's somebody who can say, I legitimately don't have any telltale signs when I get angry. I would love to talk to you, and please email us. Like, I'd love to just even, let's do an episode and ask you how it is that you don't have any of those. But I think just about everybody has some sort of warning that, okay, I'm getting angry here, and before they act out physically, verbally, whatever. And so the reason why I started with those questions was because that helps us manage, right? Learning and identifying the things that signal and trigger in your mind or in your body when you are beginning to get angry will help you to not cause harm. You know,
Yes.
one thing when I first started going to church, right, I thought that I had to be this perfect Christian. I could never get angry with anybody or anything, and I had to just be so happy and lovey-dovey with everybody. And when I wasn't, I was like, "Oh, I failed God." You know, I'm a horrible person. I failed God. I'm a horrible example to everybody else. One of the scriptures that really changed my life, and whenever I began to learn more about it, was the scriptures that says to be angry and sin not.
They're not.
I was like, what? I can be angry with something but not sin? I mean, think about it, okay, right? Jesus was without sin. He didn't sin. But look how many times he got angry.
Right.
I was
Did he
like,
not flip the table?
yeah, he flipped some tables. I mean, there's all kinds of things. And I think it's nothing but an attack of the devil and just other people whenever they, as a Christian, all right, you and I can speak from this perspective that, oh, you shouldn't be angry. Aren't you a Christian? Well, yeah, I am. And it's okay for me to get angry. It's okay for me to be upset about some things. But it's what we do with that, right? And even for those that are not believers, it still proves the point that whenever you do something out of anger, like we asked earlier, how often do you regret it? Think about that. Let's say you don't even believe there is a God. That's cool. Okay, that's fine. You're free to choose that. But have you ever done something out of anger and then felt bad about it? I mean, so there's signs, there's symptoms, there's things that we see, and it's like, it's okay for us to be angry, but we need to get a hold of that and take control of that. Recognize our signs, recognize those things that happen in our body, and keep us from saying or doing something that we know is going to have a negative impact on somebody's life.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's super deep, man. And it's not easy. I will say that, right? It's not easy. Like how hard has it been for you? Because I know that you've come a long way. I know you personally. You've come a long way as a man. And I remember when there was a time when the littlest thing would set you off. I mean, and you didn't hold back for nothing, but I've seen you as the years progressed, something happens and you kind of bite your tongue a little bit and you handle it a completely different way. Tell me a little bit about your story then. How have you grown and learned to manage it better?
It's been tough. It has, like you said, it's been very tough because I come from loose lips.
Yep.
Loose lips sink ships. And that's what I was.
Yeah.
And you're right. I mean, I had no filter. There was no filter in the verbal. There was no filter in the physical. It was, and I was like, I was a quick fuse. And for me, God pulled me out of that.
Yeah.
That's my only explanation. God pulled me out of that because just before I started going to church, I was at a point where I just didn't. I had no care. The only thing that I've ever not lost care about is my kids, my children.
Yeah.
And and that being God gave them to me for those times. God give me my children for those times. He knew what I needed when I needed it, and all that. and He gave me my children for those times, and my children have kept me out of a lot of things. I mean, I've got myself into a lot of things um, throughout the years, but m- my children being on the back of my mind, and just always running around in my mind, it never never once not thinking about them, is what has kept me, and what has got me through a lot of things that I've been through, and kept me out of a prison cell, or a casket.
Yeah.
And I'm just I'm just being I'm just being blunt. It's that's where I was headed, one or the other. I was headed that direction. um and you know and with the fact of me doing, putting myself in a cell so many times, the next step was, you know the the casket. And um it was God. I mean, it was not an easy road. It was not. And there's times, and there's still times. Don't get me wrong. There's still times that it's a tough road to be on. It's a tough road to walk. It's a very narrow path. Um, and you could sway real easy. You know, um, I've I've been in those positions to where I've been pushed. I've been tempted. I've felt threatened enough to where I could probably, unleash, like what's that saying, that the old man is buried in a shallow grave. He's buried in a shallow grave. He
Yeah.
very easily can be dug right back out.
Yeah.
Um, and I've been in those situations to where I've felt like, here, he's back, you know, and God, and I can say, at those moments, when I'm just about to take off, and fly off the handle, God steps in and grabs control of things, and grabs control of me, and and points me back in the right direction. And you can feel him, you can hear him tell, I've got this, you go, I've got this, you leave it in my hands, and walk away, I've got it.
Yeah.
And uh and so I, for and facing a situation I'm facing a situation now, right now, that that I could be very bitter about. I could be very angry if if I let that happen. Um, it's not an easy situation to talk about, but and I'm not gonna get into it.
Right. Right.
But
Yeah.
I am facing a situation right now where I could put myself in a position where I could lose control, and step off that path, veer off that path, and do what my flesh wants to do,
Yeah.
and say things that my flesh wants to say, and and sharpen those edges of my tongue real quick. Um, but I'm choosing not to. I'm choosing not to. And the only thing that um sorry.
That's all right, Bubba.
uh, the only thing that is keeping me from doing those things and being that person and digging that man out of that shallow grave is God and my children.
Yeah.
And like I said, and God put my children in my life for a reason, for times as these. And so it's not an easy task to take on. It's not an easy one to handle, but you can do it. You can do it. And if you need if you need the help to get through it, even if you don't believe in God, um, which is it, that's your choice, that's your opinion. But let me tell you that I know He's real, I know He's true, and I know where my help comes from.
Yes, sir.
I know when I look up under that hill, I know where my help comes from. I know who gives me strength to get through the things that I've come up against that have trespassed against me. And uh, my suggestion to you is to get to know Him. I mean, that's get to know Him, and you'll see. You'll see. I mean, if you knew, and you do, if you knew anybody out there, if you knew where I've been in the past that I've walked on, uh, and who I was before now, you you would see things in a whole different light. I mean, you would have to come to me and say, I don't know necessarily that I believe in God, but there's something
Yes.
there's something that's out there that's that's higher than we are, because me being who I was and who I am now, that doesn't happen. That doesn't happen just out of, that wasn't no Big Bang Theory that happened. You know, that was God moving me from out of the miry clay on to the narrow path of righteousness, so that I could be, where I need to be, and pull my kids and bring my kids to where they need to be and where we need to be, and move in the right direction. So, but yeah, it's like I said, I've dealt with a lot, and we talked about this before we started podcast in the past 2 weeks. There's a lot going on in my life and on my plate right now, and I don't talk about it. I'm not the hey, let's sit down. Will you sit down and let's have a talk kind of guy. I'm not that, and I've never been that. I've always been the type. For the most part, it's I'll handle it in one way or another. I'll handle it, and I'll handle it myself. But that's not what I do anymore. I don't talk. I might not talk about it with you. I might not sit down and talk about it with my brother or with my sister, or with my daughter or my kids. I sit here and I talk to God,
Yes.
and God talks back to me, and He walks me through these things. And without Him, I wouldn't be where I am. I would
Yeah.
not be where I am.
100%.
So
I mean, the Bible says he's a friend that sticks closer than a brother. And I'm telling you, I'm with you. I feel it, dude. I feel every bit of that. And I hope that somebody that's listening to this will, during the next time that they're going through something, say, you know what, maybe I don't believe in God, wherever you listening may be, but I hope that somebody will say, you know what, I'm going to give him a chance, and just reach out to God, and just, you don't got to call him God. Just start talking, and just open yourself up to
yeah,
something else outside of yourself or people that you see, and say, I'm going through some stuff, and I don't know if you're real. I don't know what to believe, but can you help me? Touch me, help me through this, and be open to the idea that it's him when something does happen. Because that's where I've been, man. I mean, I just going through stuff. I started serving God when I was going through something, man. I almost was put into a position where I could have lost my life. My wife was pregnant at the time. I mean, there's just a lot going on, and heck, I'd only been married a week, and it was just like so much stuff happened, but it just, man, when I just opened myself up to that, and I felt God, like his presence, I knew,
yeah.
and I tell people all the time, because people will say, hey, well, can you prove to me God is real? I'm like, I can't prove that to you. just as much as I can't prove to you that the wind isn't real. The only way we know that the wind exists is we look outside and we see the trees blowing, the leaves shaking, and stuff moving, and it's nobody's out there shaking the tree. It happens, right? So it's the same way with God. It's like he's not meant to be proven anyway. He's meant to be experienced.
Yes.
God is not meant to
Absolutely.
be proven. He's meant to be experienced. And I hope somebody takes that and that lets that sink in, because you could try to find somebody to prove God to you, and you're going to have people attempt to do it. I mean, they can show you stuff, but I've always thought it was funny that people will try to use the Bible to prove God to somebody who already doesn't believe the Bible.
Yeah. Right.
So why would I use something they don't even believe in to try to prove something that they don't believe in? So it's
right.
like, I just tell people, you got to experience him.
You have to. You can't get a true revelation of God but through him.
Yeah.
A man can't give you a revelation of God. You can only get a true revelation of God, through Christ Jesus. I mean, there's no other way that's going to happen. There's no other way that you're going to be able to experience and know for a fact that he's real. We can talk to you all day long and tell you things all day long, but until you reach out to him and get a true revelation through him, you're still going to be in the same position you was when you started.
Yeah, 100%. And there may be people listening that say, "Oh, you know what? Hey, I still don't believe in God." Then that's fine too. We're not here just for that. We're not here to just like preach Jesus. We're here to help men, and with the things that they go through in life. The fires of life that really just burn and hurt us. And you brought up something whenever you were talking about your kids that I think is a good point to make when it comes to managing our anger, right? It's okay to be angry, for one. Don't let people tell you that you can't be angry. That's false. It's okay to be angry. When it's not okay is when that anger overflows into action, whether it be physical, verbal, whatever, mental, and then it starts harming yourself and others. That's when it becomes a problem. But take things that are important to you and put that in the forefront of your mind when you recognize those symptoms of your anger, and that will help you to manage it. Men, women, it doesn't matter. We're all going to struggle with anger for the rest of our lives, right? There's no switch that we could just, flip, or a pill we can take that says, boop, I'm just never going to be angry again, So there's no fix for it. It's an emotion that's a part of us, right? But it's what we do with it when we recognize it. And you bringing up your kids was a really good point to make with that, on how we manage that. Bring up something. So for those of you listening, bring up something in your life, to your mind. When you start noticing that you are getting angry, bring up in your mind something that you don't want to lose, you don't want to risk, you don't want to hurt, you don't want to damage, and let that be a settling factor in your life.
Yeah, you don't. Yeah, that most definitely. You don't bring up something that matters to you.
Yeah,
something that would make an impact on you if something had happened to it, or if it was taken away from you, if you was taken away from it. Then what would they do? And that's where I go. That's where I go with it. Like, my kids mean the world to me, and my grandkids mean the world to me. And when I do get angry about things and stuff like that, because and here's another thing, I used to get road rage, really bad, and I still get a little road rage.
I still get a little worked up myself. Yeah,
but my road rage now is different than what it used to be. My road rage then was, you cut me off. Let's pull over. Let's get out. But now the way things are now, it's like, okay, yeah, he cut me off. Yeah. Did I like it? No. Well, maybe I might try to cut back in front of him. Yeah, okay. But I'm not gonna like jump in front of you, stop my vehicle and jump out of the car and, do things that I used to do, because I got kids that they're grown, but they still depend on me to be here. My grandkids depending on me to be here for them. So I've got things that I can put in the front of my mind when things like that happen and say, yeah, I got the little devil on this shoulder, an angel on this shoulder, an angel saying, what about your grandkids? What about your kids? Think about them first, and that's what I do. That's exactly how I live, and so you're right. You got to put things that matter in the forefront of your mind when you come up on a situation that that is going to that could set you off, and you got to stop, and you got to immediately you got to think about them. You got to the very forefront of your mind. They have to be there when that situation starts to take place, because if not, if you go into that situation and you're searching for that before you get to those things, something else has already consumed you, and you're gonna release in a way that you're gonna regret one way or another. You're gonna regret it. You're either gonna regret it through uh, through yourself, or you're gonna regret it through somebody else. Somebody else is gonna make you regret the choices that you made. So
Right.
it yeah, it's one of those things.
I kind of want to give a challenge, because there's a scripture that I want to just say real quick before we end, because it's about time. But I want to give a challenge to everybody. The scripture is, and if you want to read it yourself, go look it up. It's Proverbs 16, verse 32. It says that he that is slow to anger is better than the mighty, and he that
Mighty.
ruleth his spirit than he that taketh a city. And my challenge is, because men think we all think we're strong, right? Even if we don't think we're strong, we try to act it, just for the sake of others, whether it be our kids, our spouse, whatever. We want people to look at us and see a strong man.
We think we got something to prove. Yeah, we feel like that we have to prove ourselves to somebody, and that's what's wrong with us. That's what's wrong with us as men.
Yeah.
Is we feel like when the situation occurs that we have to prove ourselves to somebody. We have to, it would if this person over here is watching and I back down and I walk away from this, then what? How am I going to be looked at? That's what's in the that's what and that's like I was talking about a while ago. That's what should be in the back of your mind, and what matters in your life should be in the forefront of your mind, because this right here, if you let that stand in the forefront and them in the back, you're gonna, like I said, you're gonna be in a situation that you're gonna regret, or somebody else is gonna make you regret that choice that you made, and that's
And sometimes it can cost you your life. I mean, there's a lot of that going on, a lot of gun violence, just a lot of violence in general, where people, because of their anger, let it get out of control, and they said something, did something, and then they were shot and killed, or beat up by a group of people. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that goes on. But no matter how tough we think that we are, my challenge is for everyone listening, whether you're man, woman, whatever, but especially you men that are listening to this. That scripture said that he that is slow to anger is better than the mighty. If you think that you're really strong, I challenge you that something coming up this week or the next month or whatever, the next point where you get really angry, do your best to hold it back and see how much of a struggle it is. And that'll tell you a lot about yourself. Because I know for me, it's hard for me sometimes. There are times when something's said, done to me, where it just kind of sets me off. And I don't bite my tongue, because if I bit my tongue, I'd bite all the way through it. I get so angry sometimes, at something. But it tells us a lot about ourselves, and that, we're a lot more weak than what we think. And we have some growing to do. And if you really want to test your strength, see if you can hold yourself back from, getting violent or using foul words or whatever, hurting somebody with words. And so that's kind of my challenge to everybody this week. I'm going to take that challenge for myself too, right? That's for me. I'm going to continue, and I'm going to take that challenge on myself.
I'm gonna grab a hold of it. I'm gonna tell you that. Like I said, I've been struggling through some things here, and I've been on the edge, So I'll take that. I'm gonna take that challenge for myself.
One last thing I do want to say, because I just thought about it, and this goes to you too, Tom. And something you said earlier, you may not talk to everybody, you know, or talk to certain people, but you talk to God, and that's great because that helps me too. But I do want to encourage everyone that is listening to this, that if you are going through something and you are angry and you can just hold on to it for just a little while, go to somebody that you can really trust. And I mean, use wisdom in it. Okay. Don't go to somebody who's going to encourage you to go do the wrong thing. You know, go to somebody who you know isn't always going to tell you what you want to hear, but they're going to always tell you what you need to hear. That's the person you go to, and you talk to them and you tell them, this is how I'm feeling. This is what was said, or this is what was done. And I'll tell you from experience, getting it off of your chest is I mean, it works wonders. And then they can give you some feedback on that will help you see it from a different perspective. And a lot of times that's enough to sway you from doing or saying something that you know you're going to regret.
Yep. Absolutely. 100%.
So that's my challenge for all of us is get something makes you angry, recognize the symptoms, right? Identify those symptoms, and then hold back, refrain from doing anything that you know was wrong, and then just see. And let's say you fail, that's fine. Just notate that in your mind, you know, and then next time it comes up, try to make one successful attempt at, I'm really angry. Not just something slightly angry. I mean, let it really get your blood boiling, and then hold back from it, and then see what happens, and then take it and go to somebody. Heck, you can email us, you can talk to us, whatever. I mean, we'll hop on a call, whatever, and say, hey, here's what I'm going through. I want to share this with somebody who doesn't know the person that I'm talking about. You know, feel free to reach out and see how that works for you.
You ever hear somebody say, you know, and I've been in that position where I've said it too. You know, you tell somebody, I did that because I was so mad that I just couldn't stop myself. Well, fact of the matter is that you realized and you knew that anger was coming. You knew that anger was there to begin with. So you pinpointed that anger right at the start. You already knew you was mad. You know, you knew you was angry about something. So at that moment, the moment you knew that you was angry was the moment that you had to change that. The moment that you could have made the choice to do the right or to do the wrong. You had that choice at that moment. So to say, and I've said it, like I said, I've been there and I've said it. I've said those things, but to look back on it and to know that I knew when I got angry, I knew at the moment that I got angry, right then I knew that I was angry. So at that point, I had the choice. I had the opportunity to step in and say, no, it's not going to go. It's not going to go to that level. I'm gonna slow this down, and we're going to back it up, and we're going to go about this a different way. But so don't ever think that, you know, anger. Don't ever think that anger has control of you. You have control until you don't have control. You have control until you let it have control, until you let it consume you, and then at that point, you know, it still falls back on you. But you know, you do have a choice, and you know when you get angry. There's no, and like you said a while ago, you challenge somebody. You know, if you can't feel and can't tell when you're getting angry, let us know, because we want to talk to you. We want to know those things. We want to know how that is.
Yeah, don't hide that secret. Share that with everybody.
Yeah, because I want to know, because you know, I don't like to feel that all the time when it happens. Right. So, but you know when you get angry, you know at what point you're angry, and at what point you are in that anger, as far as or am I going to blow up? Is it time to blow up, or is it, or am I just a little angry and it's just progressing? So you know at what stage of anger you're at.
Right.
And you have the opportunity and the choice at that point, before you blow. You have that opportunity that whole time to make the choice and the decision to go around and about in a different direction. You have the choice to make. You have the choice to make that decision to do that in a different way.
Right.
You know,
100%. Yeah. So we just all have to make some better choices in managing it.
all of us. Yeah, all of us.
Well, that's it, man. Our time is done. We hope that something was said that's a help, going to bless somebody today and help them better with their anger management. And we're going to continue to pray for you guys, and you pray for us that we can, as men, better manage our anger.
Absolutely. Absolutely. 100%.
All right. Well, from 3 Men in the Fire, we hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Be sure to check us out on all of our different podcasting areas. We're on Spotify, Apple Music, all that. Check out our website, and you can catch us there. And hopefully we'll see you in our live streams on YouTube every Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We hope you guys have a great night.
Yep. We love you. Thank you.